Hey, greetings, Karen Clay here, Somatic Unwinding. Thanks for joining me. We are going to do one more lesson, one more kind of reprise and finale for the Almighty Psoas muscle. I want you to really understand how it's related to self-assurance, how I could make a claim like that, and how to use what you've learned to help you find length in your spine. So, let's take a look at this drawing here. So this is a really good picture because it shows you a supple, long psoas, a psoas that falls back, that is enough length so that it can lay back like a deflated parachute and really be very close to the back of your body, even though it's a hip flexor. That's how your lumbar spine gains length, is by the psoas being long and supple rather than short and taut. Last time we talked about that a short psoas muscle can pull the distance, can shorten the distance between here and here, causing you to have lordosis or lower back, an increased lower back arch. And that also creates a lot of tension in the lumbar spine. Most people who have lower back pain probably have some tightness in their psoas muscle. The other thing to look at is this wonderful picture. So look at the person here. Whoops, let's see. There we go. Look at this person. So there's a short psoas. And when the psoas does that and pulls the lumbar spine forward, oftentimes the belly sticks out because the distance between the ribs and the pelvis has shortened so much that there's less room, less space there. Also notice that this person has a forward head, a little bit of a depressed chest and rounded upper back. And particularly look right here. See how the lowest rib, the floating rib, is right on the pelvic crust. Now look at a person here whose psoas is long and falling back. There's a dotted line here that shows you, let's see, what do I do with this? That shows you the psoas underneath that side of the pelvis. So that look at the distance between the lowest rib and the top of the pelvis versus this lowest rib and the top of the pelvis. So when you get longer here, things spread out, things can lengthen. If you have a neutral pelvis, then your ribs can line up over your pelvis. Remember we talked about apertures last time? Your ribs can line up over your pelvis. Your neck can line up over your ribs and your head can line up. So look at the difference. Yeah. So I'm going to take you through a little reprise of something that we did last time and then help you to find a neutral standing position where posture is not a position and where it's not about effort. It's about finding support. That's why I made that claim about self-assurance, because if you know where you are and you know where your support is, then standing up gracefully is not a job. It's knowing where support is that gives you the ability to be supported. And that makes you very sure because you're not falling. You're not slumping. You're not, actually, let me show you that right now. Right? So there, as I showed you a couple lessons ago, there are people who try really hard to stand up and they make a ton of effort and it's a posture that has a great deal of tension in it. Then there are other people those are people who are fighting gravity, right? They're using all their muscles to pull themselves up and be whatever it is they want to be. Then there are other people who just say, oh, I'm just going to give in to gravity. I really like just to kind of be in gravity like this. So that's where gravity wins. This is where you fight gravity. But there's another option, which is to use the ground, which is basically a giant, very stiff trampoline, to transmit the forces that are created by your weight, just like with a diving board, and the ground reaction forces that occur when your weight pushes into the ground because of your weight. There's a rebound, there's a reservoir of support as long as you're lined up on it. If you're not lined up with the lines of support that come from the ground, you are not going to be supported, and you're going to have to use a tremendous amount of musculature to keep yourself upright. That's when we're not safe, when we're not comfortable, and when we have no support. So here we go. Come onto your back. Actually, yeah, that's fine. Come onto your back. And get yourself settled. Sense the ground under your heels. Sense the ground, whether it touches the backs of your calves or not, whether your calves are spreading like pancake batter on a griddle, excuse me, whether there's space behind your knees, space behind your thighs, feeling the heaviest part of the pelvis. So you're looking for the bony contact between the back of the pelvis and the floor. Can you allow that to be heavier? Can you allow that part of you to really, really feel and surrender to the support of the floor? And can you feel the contact between your ribs, between the upper part of your torso, back of your body, and the floor? And there's going to be a space between your pelvis and the ribs. That's the natural lumbar curve. So the lumbar curve is not meant to be flat. It's shaped with compound complex curves for shock absorption. So just sensing how much space is there. You can use your hand to measure between you and the floor in your lower back. And then sense whether your shoulders are resting on the floor or whether they're pulled away from the floor. So how much are you using support right now? And how much do you have parasitic tension in your muscles that keeps you pulled up and away from the forces that are there to support you? So please bend and stand both legs. Notice the change in your lower back. We're going to begin again to reel the right and left leg out. So we're using the image from 2 lessons ago of the folded fishing rod. That's your right leg that's folded at the knee and folded at the hip. The fishing reel is beneath your belly button, deep in the front of in the back of your body, on the front of your spine, and running from the inside of your heel, the inside of your ankle, the inside of your knee, and the inside of your hip is fishing line that then spools around that reel that's under your belly button. So as you begin to creep very slowly your toes along the floor, inching your right foot away from your buttock, you have to keep reeling out line. Something has to lengthen to allow the fishing rod to straighten and to allow your heel to move further away from your pelvis. So you're inching and creeping along the floor. If you have socks that may be too slippery, if you're on a wood floor, you may want to take them off. And if you have traction with a rug, then you are going to need to kind of creep your foot down rather than slide it down. Something continuously has to get longer from beneath your belly button, feeding length and line down the inside of your leg, slowly creeping the heel away from the buttock, taking your time with the effort. When you get the leg all the way to straight, flex the foot and reach down through the leg as if you're standing on that leg, on that foot, exchanging gravity and ground force with the floor. Then relax the right leg and begin the same creeping process. Or actually, let's establish the fishing rod with the left leg, the line running up the inside of the leg, the inside ankle bone, the inside of the knee, the inside of the hip joint, diving deep to the front of the spine where there's plenty of line spooled around the reel. So begin at the hip joint to reel line out before the foot moves. There's plenty of slack line between the heel and the pelvis and the belly. So start to creep the foot away from the pelvis on the floor, continuously feeding length from the area of the lumbar spine. So the lumbar spine doesn't need to be disturbed. It doesn't need to get yanked forward or displaced, because there's enough length in the fishing line that connects the heel to the pelvis that nothing need be disturbed. Notice the quality of your breathing as you continue. When the leg reaches its length, flex the foot, reach down through the left leg. And so now just notice, relax the foot and just notice how you're lying now. If you have more contact between your calves and the floor, if the gluteal cheeks are spreading more on the floor, if your lower back feels a little bit flatter, you can reach your hand and measure. If you can feel more of your rib cage on the floor, maybe your shoulder blades are now resting on the floor. So we're going to take this ease and length, this equanimity within ourselves where nothing is pushing or pulling or fighting with any other part, but the entire orchestra is tuned together. We're going to gently draw one leg up so the foot is standing, and then the other leg up so the foot is standing. When you're ready, roll to your side very softly and easily. Press yourself up to sitting. Find your way to standing. You can use your hands and knees and press back to your heels or some other way that you would like to stand up. And just see if you can allow yourself to come into standing fresh as if for the first time. Noticing how your feet meet the ground and that the ground is actually bouncing you back up. It's a reservoir, a flexible reservoir of support that rebounds you. You take the rebound from the ground and drive it up your legs, into your hip joints, into your pelvis, into your low back, which isn't being pulled forward by a cranky, nasty psoas. Your ribs, which can poise on top of your pelvis because nothing is pulling down, nothing is yanking. Your scapula, shoulder blades can slide down your back as your neck lengthens and your head reaches to the sky without any effort. So see what it would be like to go through your life with that kind of ease and softness and self-assurance. Thanks for watching. Please join me again.